Welcome to episode 187 of the Necronama.com. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now. And if I invite you to a party when I'm drunk, something's really, really wrong. Don't accept.
And I'm Don Guillory, author, historian, co-host of the podcast. And if I invite you to any party sober or drunk, it's not me, because that's just not something I do.
I was originally actually going to follow up with something similar to that, so I'm glad you went there. I was like, and if Don invites you anywhere, he doesn't mean it, don't follow. But so Zachary Ashford is here today. Zach, welcome back to the show, man.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me again. Yeah, it's always a pleasure, always a joy. So that's good. Thank you.
You always pick such interesting movies that I fall in love with. I'm still,
really? That's good.
I'm still considering Pig. Like every now and then I just find myself thinking about that movie. So yeah, I had not even heard of SISSY until you told me to watch it, and I'm glad I did. I liked it a lot. So
yeah, I put it on my list because I saw it come up on Shudder. I had it on my list, and just by this coming up on the schedule, I'm like, I'm definitely going to have to watch it now, as opposed to it's on my list and then it cycles out, from when it's no longer on the streaming service. So I'm glad I got to it.
Yeah,
and I skipped that import. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like we got really lucky. We go to this regular there's in Brisbane. It's really small, but there's a Brisbane Horror Film Society, and they had a giveaway for 2 tickets to this, and I think 2 people entered, and then the guy who essentially on my face, he said, "You're the only people who go regularly who entered. Can I give you the tickets?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." And so we went in completely blind. I'd seen the poster with the hair but I didn't even know it had been out for months overseas, and it hadn't been here. I went in completely blind with no idea what to expect, and I just ended up just loving it. And it's just entertaining as hell, this movie, I think. And and then sort of even while I was watching it, I was like, man, this movie's got some things to say as well. And after going back through it, I think it says them really cleverly. I actually think it's a really well put together movie. And even as a comparison, I think when you think kind of, I think it's a slasher. I think it's a modern slasher. And when you compare it to, say, Bodies, for example, which also has some social media commentary, it is just so vastly superior that, I think this one should have been the A24 movie, But that's it. Yeah.
Well, now that you've ruined my double feature later, no, that really is the movie I'm going to pick. So spoilers right now. But no, I felt exactly the same way. I love Bodies. But this has way more to say, says it more cleverly. And I just felt like Bodies is what I expect these movies to be. And then this is where we can go, if that makes sense. So I love that you threw that out.
No, and I want to clarify, I enjoy Bodies as well. I think I'm going to write a piece, and hopefully someone will publish it. But just like a sort of a comparison about, I think these are the slashers that sort of warn the youth of today. It's not don't go and have sex. It's just be aware of social media. It will fuck you up. But I think Bodies is pretty much Twitter. Everyone's reacting to shit before they've seen it, and then the video comes out. They go, "There's the moment of truth," and then they go, "Oh." But I think this actually has some more deeper kind of commentary on it, and I think that's more
definitely.
Deeper. Listen to that.
So, being the amazing professional podcast person that I am, I completely forgot to do the part where you get to tell our listeners a bit about yourself. So let's do that really fast.
Yeah, sure. Easy. So Zachary Ashford, author, teacher, educator, and debut full-length novel coming out this year. Should be July 15, which is really exciting. I've had some novellas published in the past. Was I think we were talking about the one coming out last time we did it, and I got nominated for the Aurealis for that one, which was really cool to go and meet some of the Aussie crew who are there now. And yeah, so I've got a novella and that debut novel coming out this year, Polyphemus, which I'm pretty excited about. Everyone seems to be really digging it who's read it in advance, which is probably pretty serious. It's not as Australian. And then The Morass, Seven of the Fly God at the moment it's called. That's way more like if you imagine Wolf Creek gone cosmic with some just layers and layers of insanity coming through. In the end, it's a nice kind of violent, fast-paced novella, whereas Polyphemus is violent too, I guess. I like violent fiction. Yeah. So that's me. I've just waffled over that for too long. But yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've read your novel that's coming out, and the thing that I found most fascinating about it, as I think you know, because of the little blurb thing I wrote or whatever they're called, I was just fascinated by how much music is really super important to the story, obviously, but like the book acts like music, like there's crescendos and there's like the pacing just feels like music, and it was so lovely. And I can't do shit like that when I write, so I'm just like overly amazed by it when I see it, and I'm not even explaining it right. That's how much I can't do it. And but it really stuck out to me. So I was like, okay, if I get this, then, you know, people who understand this stuff way more than me are going to love this. And when you say that you like violent, it's definitely violent and it's awesome, and people should check it out when they can.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for saying that. It's funny because I actually tried to start that back before I'd written a few of the novellas, and I didn't have the skills to do it. Like, I've always been a pretty good writer, but a storyteller is different, you know? Yeah, you want me to come and write an essay or write some commercials, I can do that in seconds. But like actually writing something like that, and you realize what goes into it, it's hard. So I think anyone who's written a book needs some real credit on doing it, because putting it all together is so much harder than you think, especially when it's so big. But no, I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's warmed the cockles in my heart. That's what they're saying. But yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So I know you kind of gave us a rundown of when you first saw Sissy, but what is it that why did you pick it? Like why this movie over anything else you could pick right now?
I think, and I'm so glad I did, because I was kind of debating a couple of movies, but I just think it's so clever. I think it asks some really good questions. I think, and I may be wrong here, I think when we talk about what representation should be like, I think it does it well, because it does have what some people may, if they were kind of being disingenuous, say, it's tokenistic. But I think they've included all different groups and subcultures in a way that feels natural. Nothing feels forced. I think, you know, they're not there for who they are. They're there as people, but everyone's included. And I think that's really, really entertaining. And on top of that, I think the things it asks us, and it asks, particularly its audience, the younger generation, who are these people on screen that they're idolizing in many times, and what are their credentials to be giving the information they give? And it's a lot about almost media literacy. It makes it sound really boring, but yeah, I think it's got some really important questions about who we are. I think the one thing it could have going against it is maybe it doesn't represent mental illness in the best light, but I still think it's a fantastic movie. So, yeah. Does that answer that question?
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, cool.
Yeah.
Don, when he says representation in this, did you feel that it was tokeny, or did you feel that it was just life today, or what? Like, what did you think of that?
I wanted to criticize it for that. But I think what was happening was you're seeing, as opposed to including people for the sake of tokenization, you're seeing the inclusion of people because this is what friend groups typically look like, right? You have friends of this person, let's just say, whatever the relationship is. Person A brings their friends into this relationship. Person B brings their friends into this relationship. And then these people may or may not mix. Whereas, if we looked at this, if this were an 80s movie, it would have been all white women, like white cishet women. And it wouldn't have been, what they refer to as a hens weekend. It would have been a bachelorette weekend. And it wasn't, both partners. It was just going to be the friend of Sissy who was getting married, who invited her to this bachelorette weekend. And it's something as simple as like, oh, that's that girl that we went to middle school with. She was so weird. Oh, I can't believe you're friends with her still. So you wouldn't have had the disabled gay friend, or you wouldn't have had the gay couple as being the people that tied everybody together. I think it's just changing with the times and recognizing that this is what friend groups, families, co-workers kind of look like. It's no longer monochromatic with respect to people. You've got now, if they had decided, hey, we're gonna add a young Muslim girl with a young hijabi girl in here, then I would have been like, wait a second, what the fuck is going on with this movie? What are we trying to do now? What are we trying to do? But I thought it was done in a way to where it wasn't whatever part of those people's identities is represented is not their full identity that's represented. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely what I took from it. I think it's the right way to put it. Yeah.
Very cool. So one of my favorite things in the entire movie is towards almost the very beginning. She's doing the videos that she does. I don't know if it's YouTube or Instagram or whatever, but she's doing that and everything is perfect and it's peaceful and it's, oh, I can lead you to a better life, basically. And then as soon as it's over, she's walking through her house and it's trashed and there's dishes everywhere and there's empty pizza boxes piled up and she's eating straight out of another pizza box. And I love this because while it sets up that whole juxtaposition, like, this is so real to me because I have been working from home for 3 fucking years now. And every fucking day at my job, I go to meetings where we're all wearing nice shirts and some people have ties and people have makeup. And I guarantee you, I'm not the only one wearing fucking pajama pants with my nice shirt. And I'm not the only one not wearing shoes. And I'm not the only one who's wearing Spider-Man slippers if I'm wearing shoes. And, and so I think it's fun how it's used as that juxtaposition that things aren't right. But then it also had this other connotation to me now of, but it still totally makes sense. I don't know. I loved that.
Mm.
Yeah, I was actually, one of the things I wrote down here is in just setting it up and that little bit. I think like the idea of the rope, the circle, the boundaries, it's all there straight away, which is pretty cool. But we've got this person who's commenting and telling others how they should, gain their spiritual wholeness or whatever the word is. But like her house is literally not in order. And it comes back to that saying, you can't tell me what to do. Your own house isn't in order. And I just think that's a really clever way to set up. As you said, like obviously the work thing, because even yesterday I was helping the boy film a unboxing video for an assignment. And it's like, okay, if we just point the table this way and we put the camera here, they can't see all the shit on the desk. Like, so, yeah. But it's I think it's just
I'm so used to like the fake backgrounds, like everybody's in these like immaculate houses that none of us have, and we all know that because we know where each other work and we can't afford those houses, but those are the backgrounds we pick. Or like somebody's in a spaceship or whatever, and I had a boss that absolutely hated the fake backgrounds because she couldn't handle like that little bit of give around your head when the video would fuck up. So she made everybody just use their actual video. And this is exactly how I felt about it. I felt like I had this clean area. Like I would turn on my camera and be like, where do I have to push things so it's not in the view, right. And I feel like that's exactly what our main character did here. And I
used to like when we were doing learning from home through COVID, I'd always like try to put pictures from like Godzilla smashing the city behind me or something into for the students. I could be teaching a lesson now. There's Godzilla going nuts behind, but that's just, I guess, my sense of humor. But
my favorite background, just because I never get to tell this story, Vincent Vanacava is one of my best friends.
Oh my god!
He has, his Instagram is nothing but thirst traps, so it's all him without his shirt with his perfect muscles and shit. So I stole 15 of his photos, and I built a background where I was just surrounded by naked Vince, and then I was like, hey, man, can you hop on Zoom for a call? I just got to talk to you really fast. And I just put up the background and made him look at it the whole time.
I remember that.
And I tell you this story because one day at work, I accidentally clicked that background. And it was there for like, I didn't go to them because I didn't hit the final right. little button that accepts it, right? But I was so fucking panicked. Like I couldn't get it to turn off. Like it was something out of a fucking sitcom. And I don't know why I was so upset because like they never saw it, but so
I wish they did.
I kind of do too. I don't work there anymore, so what difference would it have made?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I thought also in this first scene that we see come through is her mantra that she uses a lot. Which, did I write it down somewhere? I probably should have. Where she's, you are enough. You are fantastic, basically. And then she always uses this, especially these moments of tension, that whenever something's going to happen, she goes and she does this breathing exercise, and you are enough. You are valuable. You are. I should look up the actual quote and get it right for once, shouldn't I? Rather than just paraphrase it.
I'm just fighting the urge to make a joke about the help here, but.
Yes, you is smart.
Yeah, that
is important. I did that to somebody one time during a what was it? Not a faculty meeting, but a pep rally. I just had the microphone. I said, I just want to let you know that you is smart, you is important. And there were only like 5 or maybe 10 people in the entire auditorium who had seen the movie at that point, and they were just cracking up that I did this. And everybody else was like, "Why is Mr. G speaking like that?" I'm like, "You is kind. We should
call
smart,
you Mr. G on the show. I like that.
You is important." I hate that movie so much.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
And you know what? Viola Davis even admits she hates that movie. She's like, I wish I'd never done that movie. But anyway, no, that you bring up a good point, which is we often get in this moment of, whether we're talking about, we'll get into the mental health issue. But we get into this, not just self-diagnosing, but also this self-care and trying to figure out like, what is it that I can do to, fix whatever's going on, whether I'm having a panic attack, whether it's like somebody is in this area that I don't want to be around, which you see, when she goes to the drugstore and she runs into her friend from middle school or junior high. And it's like, oh shit, let me turn around. I hope she didn't see me. Which,
yeah, right.
I'm going to admit, I've fucking done that where I've seen somebody and I pretended to not see them and hope, please God, do not see me. Do not see me. I'm going to keep fucking walking. Then all of a sudden I hear, Don! I'm like, God damn it. I was trying to avoid you. Man. And it is never a thing about that person. It's not an issue of like, oh, I have a problem with that person. It's just like, sometimes we get so used to, those of us who may be on the spectrum, you get so used to masking who you are. It's like, I don't feel like putting up the mask right now. I don't feel like pretending like things are okay. I could be thinking about, why are elephants the only animals in the world, or at least the only legged animals in the world that can't jump? And that's the problem I'm trying to figure out. And the whole thing is like, I don't want to go back to having a normal conversation. I'm sitting there like, they have fucking knees. Why can't they jump? They can walk, they can run, they can kneel down. They can't fucking jump. This makes, which for those of you who are listening, fun fact, great trivia, elephants are the only mammals and only legged animals that cannot jump.
Good to know.
And it's something to deal with, like the way their joints are. They can't jump. But yeah, just the idea of somebody running into you, it's like now you've not necessarily messed up my day, but you've created an added thing that I have to do. Now, as far as Sissy, it's I have to confront that trauma from my childhood, which the storytelling is really good as far as making you think that her trauma is coming from a different place than what it actually is coming from.
I think this one is the other thing that's so, even after watching it a second time, I'm still leaving this movie going, man, she's a great person, hey? Like, you know, and they really, really position that. Whereas poor Alex, who is literally the victim, and is like, who's a total bitch, by the way. You're watching her, you just go, oh, this bitch is everywhere. Like, and, but she's actually the real victim, you know. She's got to live with this scar in her face and all this. And yeah, all right, she may have deserved it. She was bullying, but I don't know. Maybe no one ever deserves extreme violence. And yeah, apart from maybe dude bros who think Andrew Tate's a good guy, they probably deserve it. But
oh, they deserve that and more.
But actually,
do you guys know, is Andrew Tate wearing Elon masks? I don't know. So.
Yeah,
probably. Oh my god, that was a great little dig.
the Elon Musk was absolutely hilarious to me in this.
Well, I put down on my notes, Elon Musk wears a human suit, so it's only fair.
Yeah,
oh
right.
My God. Yes.
The thing that got me in it, and I wondered what you guys would make of it, because there's some of these lines in this movie, they're just so Australian. And like in The Chemist, where she bumps into the pregnant chick, and she's like, yeah, I'm just pregnant, it's fine. And like the phrasing of that to me is such an Australian line. And I was just like, I wondered what you guys thought of that, because it just cracked me up. Like we were talking about, my wife and I were watching it, and we're like, that's so Aussie. Like,
I mean, first off, I'm super fluent in Australian because I read The Roo, and at the end of The Roo, Alan Baxter gave us a translation guide. And so because of that, I am now 100% fluent in Australian. So I didn't even notice. It was great.
Oh, beautiful.
No, I do love that line though. That line's hilarious to me. Like, it's the way she stands, and like she's got like the little, like her arms are out, and she's just kind of like looking to the side, like, you fucking bitch, you know. And it's just the delivery of that line. I didn't realize that's an Australian thing. I just loved the delivery of the line. It was fantastic.
It's just this really understated, sarcastic way of commenting on shit like that, you know. Like, it's just funny. I just wondered, because there's another one later on. You guys would never have seen Kath and Kim, right?
No.
Nope.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
It's kind of a genius sitcom parody about, you know, kind of probably we'd call them upper class bogans or cashed up bogans, where really they're just total working class normal people, but they've got a bit of money, and so they kind of act like they belong in the upper middle class, and really they're very not. But there's a line there.
I was going to say they tried to have a spinoff. Not a spinoff. They tried to have an American version of that with, I think, Molly Shannon and Selma Blair, maybe like 10 or 12 years ago. And it didn't work in the United States. I loved it. I loved the show because that was what they were doing. It was, we're putting on, I mean, in the US, it's referred to as putting on airs. Like, I'm not well-to-do, but I'm going to pretend, and I'm going to present myself as well-to-do. So I can get into those circles. So I may do some outlandish shit to pretend as though I have money, and then people with money know that I'm full of shit. Whereas
it's a thing they do a lot here with The Castle. What was another one that didn't translate, I think. But what's going is there's a line that they always say, like the mother and the daughter in that show would be, look at my, and they were doing it in here, and I was thinking that is not going to translate anywhere else, but we were cracking up because it was, you know, because you still hear people saying that. I've been saying that to my wife for ages. Look at my, and she'll just be like, that's from Kath and Kim. And I'll be like, yeah. And you know, like, and then to see it in this movie, I was like, that's not going past Australian shores. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, sidetrack everyone again. But yeah.
That's all we do. That's all we ever do on this show. Just side quests nonstop.
But yeah, so she's in the chemist, and yeah, you get that trauma, and I think what really once she leaves, and the chick's like, oh, you've got to come to my wedding, and like that whole conversation, which is just so cringeworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And of those moments, and like you said yourself, you know, you see someone in public, and you don't want to have that conversation. You kind of just want to wave and nod, you know, if anything, and just keep walking. And sometimes you got those people who stop you every time, and you go, "Oh God, I was, you know, trying to do this in a time frame." And but here, confronting what we find out later on, and there's on the second watch you get where she goes into the car. She mentions later on, "I wanted to be you. I wanted the yellow car. I wanted pink hair."
Right.
She's sitting in a yellow car with pink hair, like, or she's just bought the dye for the pink hair. I can't remember what.
Right.
But it's all that show don't tell that's really clever. And then later on when she says it, you go, oh my God. Like, and so I think this memory and of Sissy, and I've got the cast name here because I've just forgotten it, of Emma, sorry, is this whole thing. And what's really interesting is right after this, it's kind of like Emma is the past coming back, and she starts to regress because she's used her platform, her Instagram of whatever it is, 7,000 followers or whatever, to try and become this new person. I think she's genuinely trying to grow, but she also can't escape her trauma. And so once she sees Emma again, then she has that vision in the house, and you know that little bit where you're like, oh, is this going to be a weird ghost movie? If you know nothing about it, and so then you start to see she starts to regress a little bit, and that regression happens kind of pretty slowly through the movie, and it often ties in with just little bits of the past coming through, and the fact that video that's what I was going to mention, the video that she always watches of them as kids that you get to see where they're like, we're our best friends. That's really symbolic of like she still holds on to that, you know, she still thinks this, and then when she sees this person is not her best friend, she's now getting married, and that the girl she had to fight with is Emma's best friend, is literally that she can't let go of. Well, but she said they were BFFs, and she's not, and other people have moved on, and she's got to confront that. And I think that it's all done really well in that part there, where you see that car, that yellow car, that bit of symbolism is really cool, I think. And you know, then she goes home, and obviously, yeah, is the dream after?
I thought they
go on.
The dream.
I was just going to say, I thought that it was fascinating how they make the friends seem like the crazy one when you meet her. Like you're kind of like, oh, don't go with her. She seems nuts. And then, you know, obviously we're on the wrong team already.
Look, I honestly thought that she was going to do something to her because of the way everything was presented. Not just, oh, don't go with her. Like, this is a setup because I haven't seen you so long. We're gonna sacrifice you. We're gonna do something weird. You know, it's a coven of witches. Like, I went in completely blind because aside from the poster or the poster image itself, I'm thinking like that's a, you know, kind of a sacrificial look. You're seeing the side of her head. Maybe she'd been knocked down. She'd been shot. She'd been stabbed in the back, and she's lying on the ground with her head on the ground. And I was just trying to figure out from that moment of just seeing that poster, who exactly is going to be the victim. And I'll have to say that I wasn't disappointed. I was wrong, but I wasn't disappointed with who ended up being the victim. Because I from the beginning I felt sympathetic towards Sissy, and at the end I kind of felt like, you know what, maybe they fucking deserved it. Not everybody, but maybe they kind of deserved it, and you weren't completely wrong in what you did,
right? Which is like what I was saying before, is like this movie you watch, you're still like, oh yeah, nah, she's cool. And like, she's so not when you sort of look at it analytically. I mean, from her perspective, she's done it all for her own reasons and is justified. But like those moments where she just snaps are just like, they're savage. They're really savage, and which is really interesting to look at, because you kind of get this thing like that. You first get that name where they mention the name Alexandra Kudis, who is the girl we find out later on. And I'll just do the spoiler here. You get this really great reveal of what happened when she's talking about the scar, and then it's the second dream, isn't it, where her face is moving like underneath the scar, and you find out that as they've had this fight as kids, she hasn't been invited to Emma's birthday party, even though they're BFFs. And then they start going, "Sissy, sissy, sissy," and she just like whacks her in the face with that trowel or garden garden spade, and it's just like stuck in there. And that's the first moment I think you're just like, okay, that's pretty brutal. And especially, the scene.
Maybe don't make fun of people and that won't happen.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's the way we're feeling the whole time, isn't it? Like the whole movie, that Alex, who is a bitch, you're just like, man, this bitch, every time she's on screen, you're just hating her. She's a great villain, even though really she's probably quite right. What the fuck is this person doing in my house?
Right.
The person who literally left me with a scar for the rest of my life. So I guess it's even
that's kind of great, because like that's just how life works. Like we don't see the other person's story. So once we've decided who's a bad guy or who's this or that, we just kind of have that. And so I kind of like when movies do this sort of thing. Like if we had been shown the movie from her point of view, we're going to get a really different view of who she is.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't think that would have worked obviously it would have been a totally different story, but I don't think that that's as interesting.
Nah.
I think like literally watching Sissy's side of this is the most interesting, and it's because we don't have those details and we don't have the facts. And I just thought this was such a fantastic way to do it. Yeah,
and as kids, Sissy probably was innocent when this happened, and when she lashed out. But even there's that sort of that what would you call it, that dichotomy between the visible scar and the invisible scars on the inside, I think is something else you could, someone smarter than me could take a look at and be like, this is really well done here. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so you've seen this. I think I'm really dragging on this one spot, but because the first time you actually kind of get the hint that it's actually a horror movie is in the gym. You've got the thing, and they say right after she says to her that Emma's been spewing in the bar. Sissy's been holding her hair, having a chat to Emma's fiance, and she's like, "Oh, you need to be there or die." And then that horror movie music kicks in right at that moment,
right.
And it's and you go, "Oh, okay, something's going wrong," and you do kind of have this idea from the poster that because it is Sissy's hair. There's like just Sissy's hair like stretched out, and like she has been knocked to the ground. Like Don was saying. So, yeah, and then, they head off. And this is where I'm like, the dichotomy between it and Bodies. There's these kids, they're going out to this mansion in the bush, and, they're all isolated. And it's, when some of those slasher tropes can kick in. And I think it's a really great kind of postmodern slasher. So, yeah.
All right. I have a question about Australia. How common is it to hit a kangaroo?
God
with your
damn
car?
it! I knew that was going to be it.
I'd say it's reasonably common. Like, there's a bush, like there's a road. Our towns are pretty much surrounded by forests, right? So where we are, we're a little bit on the outskirts of our city suburbs, and then to go to the next city across, you can either go along the highway, which you'll see dead animals of all descriptions. But the road to where I used to go to work last year, from there, it was really, really common to see wallabies, in particular this area, jumping on the road and dead ones on the side. So I've never actually hit one.
Good.
But yeah, there's tons of dead ones along the sides of the roads, particularly faster roads, because when they get startled, they just jump out and they'll jump right out in front of the car. So Yeah.
We got to be honest. It's probably no different than, well, obviously, James, not you in Phoenix right now, but where I am as far as
I grew up in the Midwest, so
trust me, it's worse here. It is worse here.
Yeah.
But I mean, you would be used to, the raccoon, possum, the occasional deer, right?
Yep.
I lose count of how many deer that are on the side of the road just driving my daughter to school or driving to Walmart here. Because the highway that we have, or the state roads that we have, are kind of what you just described, Zach, which was, you've got these wooded areas, the animals come out, they might try and get across and get hit by something, whether it's a small car or a tractor trailer or something.
Yeah,
And
I think the trucks do a lot of it. I think they kind of suck them in a bit, because the trucks come through
But no, I can't imagine how traumatic that would be, as far as, because I've never hit anything other than, I think I've hit a rabbit, if that. But that was like in the suburbs, because a rabbit happened to run across the road because it was getting chased by a coyote in suburban Phoenix. And as far as I know,
down in my neighborhood, because that's where that happens.
Well, all I know
so
is
much of that.
The coyote ate well that day, because I hit the rabbit and I saw the coyote without missing a step, like snatch the rabbit up and keep going. And I'm like, holy shit, nature.
We had a day where there were 3 coyotes in the road, just hanging out, slowly walking across, and so everybody just had to wait in the morning. I don't know, it's weird. Like, it was nothing to me when I was growing up in the Midwest, because everything's small towns. You see deer and whatever else all the time. But like, I live in a city of 5 million people, so when I see coyotes just hanging out all the time, it's fucking weird.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. When we talk about our wildlife, is we don't have that kind of stuff. Our wildlife is pretty easy to avoid, to be honest. If you're up north, don't go in the water, because the crocodiles will get you. I don't particularly like the river through here. It's full of bull sharks, but it's also, it's Logan City, so it's probably full of dead bodies too. They regularly kind of pull those out of it, but not so much in our stretch, but a bit further towards the city itself. There's some pretty dodgy stuff going on there. Mm-hmm. But actual things like coyotes and wolves, we don't have them. We've got snakes and spiders, obviously, and the mailman reckons he saw a brown snake in our yard the other week, but I reckon it was probably a keelback, which is completely different, because we've seen a keelback here before, and they're brown as well, and a lot of people will just go, it's brown, therefore it's a brown snake, and that's not. The brown snake is like the most deadly snake in Australia, in terms of statistics and its location. There are some snakes that are have a higher venom yield, but the brown snake is the one that lives in your backyard. So you kind of, you're pretty unlucky if you get bitten by a taipan or a fierce snake, whereas a brown snake is regularly going to be the one that bites people because of where it lives. But if it was that's not good for people with dogs and stuff in the estate. But I reckon it's a keelback, and the keelback is good because it's one of the only ones that can eat cane toads, which is pretty cool. So
those are the invasive ones, the cane toads.
Yeah, they're the ones you guys sent over, I think. Or we bought it.
I had nothing to do with that.
The Chazwazers? I've heard of them.
Yeah. You know what's, again, changing cultural attitudes and stuff now, as kids, it was pretty common to just go on a cane toad hunt, where you'd be like, they're a pest, you got to pick them up, you got to freeze them, you got to get rid of them. Whereas now, I don't know whether it's different people aren't out in the streets, but there are so many cane toads in here, probably because there's a golf club and estates nearby with the rivers and stuff, and so the water's there. But there's so many of them, and you don't see kids out there whacking them with cricket bats and stuff like you used to in the 90s, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't know, it's just really interesting. I'm sidetracking again, but yeah, that used to be a common thing. You just see kids prowling the streets at dusk looking for cane toads in the 90s. It's just, or the science teacher, okay, we're dissecting toads this week, can you all bring in some toads? And there'd be 16 boys in the class dropping plastic bags full of toads on the any excuse, I've got homework here, got to go get some toads, all right. But yeah, now, no, you don't see that. Just, I don't know, probably a good thing. It's not their fault they got moved here. Some of them are probably could be considered citizens by now. They were born here, right? So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway, where were we with this movie?
Anytime.
Oh, the kangaroo.
There was a movie?
Yeah. Yeah, but how brutal is that kangaroo that where it gets run over?
Yeah.
Well, it was just the brutality of it, but it was the idea of you got to finish it off, and they had to run it over a second time.
Yeah,
and that was one of those things where all of us, as far as the three of us, are probably looking at it like, foreshadowing. I see this is going to come back somehow, but just the whole idea of I got to finish this off. Give me the keys. I'll go do it. And the idea of somebody is making the conscious decision of, I've got to do something that, for all intents and purposes, is something that would be grotesque, but I'm doing it to be merciful.
Yeah.
And, that if my daughter were to walk in on that scene, she would have been horrified. Because that's one of the animals that she really likes. She loves koalas. She loves kangaroos. And she loves things like the bad ear foxes. But yeah, if she saw that, like I would have been paying for therapy. She had walked in when I was watching that.
They are nice animals, I think, kangaroos. So it's fair. But that's the moment here when this happens. You get that moment where she sees Alex rolling around on the ground, and it gives you this first idea. Okay, like something's happened here, and you see the cut on the face. So I was wrong. You haven't seen the shovel in the face yet, but you've seen Alex. So there's something has happened in the past. That this regression is still happening. She's still envisioning these things, and it's all just really clever in the way it's just unfolding this stuff before it starts to become the crazy and quite hilarious end to things, I think. But yeah.
And they do such a good job of making you just kind of think that Alex has always bullied her. And I mean, she has, but like, that's the only part of the story.
Right.
There's such a good build up to, I don't want to be around her. She's always been the problem. And then when you get the stab to the face, it plays even better than if we had just gotten that to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you can imagine, probably some movies would use that as the prologue. You know what I mean? But instead, they just sort of backfed it, just dripped it in, and I think again a really clever choice. I think in doing that. But then, yeah. So, but how about when she gets to the house? And it's actually my wife who pointed out, like, there's no way that hallway is that long. Where they've all gone running down the thing, but so the camera angle they've used really shows how she feels. Like she's on the outside. And they're all like, she and not only in this situation, but in life, her only real contact is through the fact that she's an influencer, which they have a great conversation about later. And again, some great stuff in there. But yeah, so she's watching from outside. She's not included, and like really deliberately not included. Everyone just kind of forgets her, and that whole BFF thing that she thinks about. And this is where you actually get to see Alex in the movie for the first time, and she takes them outside and they have that chat, which is not a good chat. And then what is it? Oh, that bitch, she's crazy, she's a psycho. And this is where you might be able to put the movie and go, okay, that's something that we used to see a lot of, where people in horror movies were called mental, or they did what they did because they were mentally ill. And it's something I think we probably don't do so much these days. It's probably one of the few moments where you can go, I think the movie's a little bit heavy-handed with that, but I don't know. I don't know if maybe I'm reading it in a way that's like I'm missing something that they are saying, this is not right. But the fact is that the villain of the movie is recognizably not all there in the head. She's got some trauma she's working through and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Did you guys think that at all, or is that just me? Because it's just one thing I was thinking,
No, I didn't have a problem with it because I didn't see it as the reason why she was doing it was mental illness, right? This is somebody who's, like I said before, self-diagnosing, self-treating, practicing self-care to take care of herself. And it's that these people end up being the trigger. Because not that I've been in a similar situation, but we've all been in situations where somebody in the vicinity is our trigger. And it's like, I need to get the fuck away from you. I don't want to be around you. I don't need, but you see at this moment, like, one, she's in the same area as everybody else, right? She's in the same building, but there's so much, I guess, just distance, not physical distance, but there's so much distance that's drawn between these groups that gets exacerbated by the fact that Alex is there now. And now it's, oh, I'm not with my friend Emma and her friends. It's now, I just happen to be the leftover person that really shouldn't have been here. And it starts to bring back all those feelings, those insecurities, the thinking of the trauma and the idea of, this was my best friend. This is who I lost because of you. And everything in my life, I can trace back to you as being the problem, as far as from Sissy's perspective. You're the problem. Whereas Alex looks at it as, you began my problems, where I'm left with this physical scar that I have to deal with, which, I mean, that dream sequence that she goes through where it's like, oh, just touch it. And her hand like goes inside of the open flesh was outstanding, because she's, again, you're starting to see how Sissy feels about what she had done to Alex, but then also not taking full accountability of what she had done, because, I mean, she was a kid. She was a kid. I mean, I get holding on to something with someone who's an adult who makes a conscious choice to hurt you, but I don't understand the thing of, this is a kid that did something to me as a kid, and this is something I'm going to hold on to for my entire life. She did this when she was 12. She didn't do this like 2 weeks ago. She didn't do this as we were adults. Like, she didn't like steal my partner from me and then, kill them in front of me. And, I've had to deal with that trauma. This is somebody who physically injured me when we were children, which, not saying that it's not something you can't get over, but it's something that you shouldn't hold over somebody else when you're adults, and then still treat them just horribly. Which again is why I didn't necessarily feel as though Sissy's the villain, despite all the stuff that she does. Because, I mean, I even got at one point I got a cabin in the woods feel from this movie, because there were a couple of moments when, like, even Jamie, like when he dies, which I almost peed my pants because the way that he fell off of the cliff, because it wasn't it wasn't. It wasn't Sissy intentionally pushing him. It was like, I need to talk to you. I want to explain. And then it's like, because of his crutches and because of his issues with walking, or his mobility issues, her force versus his force then pushes, causes him to fall over the cliff. And I'm laughing, one, because it's an accident, and then two, because of the way it's shot, the practical effects that are used. It was just a funny death. But then, of course, when you see his body, you're like, holy shit, that's brutal. That's a brutal way to die. But I could not stop laughing, because I could not see him as, not necessarily I couldn't see him as a sympathetic character, but I couldn't see him as like, oh shit, why did he have to die? I saw it as, well, he was kind of making fun of her too, but it wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault why he died. It actually was an accident. Yeah.
Besides, he's the one who just pissed on the dead body.
My favorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I've got a great line for that one, and I forgot to include it. Oh. You say whatever you want about this movie, but there's one thing that you need to understand. It is much better to be pissed off than pissed on.
There you go.
There it is. Yeah. Gold. But that whole sequence is just unbelievably funny, and you're just like, I think it's that whole thing we talk about again a lot. Like, I really love horror comedy movies. I think they're great, and you've got these horrible things happening, this horrible trauma coming to the surface, And then, but even that, the fact that the body being pissed on is what brings it to the surface. But
Yeah.
like, it's so funny. And then he ends up like, I thought that at the end when she hears someone calling for Jamie, then she just gives him a shove. Because she's like, oh, I'm in this situation where he's going to tell. So I don't know. Maybe I need to check that again because I had a couple of beers at that point because we were watching it on holiday down Goldie. But I thought it was so funny, that whole sequence of just really rapid fire 2 deaths of 2 huge characters, and you're out in the bush. You're like, but the fact that she's literally planting a flower on the grave, or the hastily dug grave while filming herself for Instagram, is where the real commentary of this is. Who are these people we're idolizing? What is this saying about them? And it's not like, if you're going to be a professional psychologist or psychiatrist, like the fiance is going to be, you go and get a qualification. You just start saying stuff on the internet and people start following you. And if that was that simple, we'd all do it. But you get the right kind of luck in doing it. You're someone who's actually seen as an expert. Well,
it's that whole thing about followers. The more followers you have, apparently, the more credible you are. To where it doesn't matter what your area of expertise is. If you happen to have enough people who follow you, and you make a post about, I don't know, yellow flowers are the new superfood, which, fitness and health social media are 2 of the funniest and most toxic areas that you'll ever see, where it's like, well, if you're actually going to do deadlifts, you have to do them this way. And then you'll see somebody, oh, they're in very good shape. Of course, they're doing it the right way. That's how you get in shape. Or they're talking about dieting or whatever it is. Like, look at me, I'm a size whatever, or I've got these measurements in this way. This is what my muscles look like. Great. Follow me and buy this. Make sure that you use the code when you buy it so you can get 20% off. So you have people that buy into this, no pun intended, that buy into this because, oh, you got enough followers, you got enough likes, you got enough views to where, holy shit, people must believe you. To use that old line of, millions of Elvis fans can't be wrong. You start to transition this into social media and it's, oh, you've got millions of people that follow you. You have to be doing something right. Okay, Kim Kardashian, I will go ahead and take your advice on this experimental medication that I can order from this obscure website to lose 20 pounds in 2 days, or to grow my ass to the same size as yours
or to have
in
a
2 weeks.
For my wellness made out of Gwyneth Paltrow's Cuda.
Yes, the wonderful vagina candles. And because those people have celebrity, or they have enough followers or likes or whatever it is, right? There are people that have put enough worth into that where I don't care what this doctor says, this medical doctor, what the psychiatrist or psychologist happens to say. I don't care what this historian says, this economist, whatever. This random person on the internet who has a much bigger following is more credible. Fuck all your degrees. That doesn't matter. How many people are following you on Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah. Which is there's a thing where they talked about this. It's a Guardian article where the directors of this movie, and I should know their names as well, and I should be fair and say it. They talk about this Aussie influencer, Belle Gibson, and she pretended to have cancer, and she got lots of money sent her way.
Yeah.
And they use that kind of that conning influence. The directors, Hannah Barlow and Kane Senners. Oh, Hannah Barlow's Emma in the movie as well. So she's directing and acting in it. And Kane, I don't know, doesn't appear anywhere, I don't think. No. But yeah, so they talked about like how that kind of these false claims for her, she said she had terminal brain cancer and she was trying to get natural remedies and all these kinds of things and how they helped and all this sort of stuff. I think I might be getting that right. Might be wrong. I'm not sure exactly. So it's there online if you want to check it. And use that. And they I was just reading through the article again quickly here. It says they started off by judging the influencer. And then as it continued in the writing process, they realized that they're all kind of a bit Cecilia or Sissy. So it's, sort of being, why you've got that sort of compassionate approach to Sissy as opposed to just seeing her as a monster who, murders multiple people in one night. So, yeah. But, yeah. But going back in, so I'm no. If I'm just talking too much, just shut me up, hey, because I'm
no.
But
I love when other people talk and I don't have to. It's great.
What I love in that scene where she finally joins the scene and like Alex is like, well, you can sleep on the couch if no one warned me you were coming, and even that use the word warned me as opposed to told me, I think it's pretty interesting. But they're watching like Love Island or something like that, some kind of really vapid reality television show. And there's this guy on the screen and he's sort of like flexing. And as he's sort of flexing and they're all talking about how much they love this show, the gaslighting this season is great. It's what I've written here is one of the things they said.
Yeah.
As Sissy or Cecilia, we should call her out of fairness to her, brings the video. There's a dude flexing on screen as she's saying, here's our memory box. And I just think, someone along the line has had to plan what is going to be playing on that screen while she's saying that. And they've picked this moment of a dude flexing and, just being like, here's my big flex. This is our memory box where you told me we were going to be best friends forever. And then Emma's like, oh, I totally forgot about that. And he's sitting there with all their new best friends. And then Alex, the new best friend, just comes in, just turns that shit off. And she's just like, yeah, I'm here now. It was really interesting. And
enough of this.
Yeah, all of these camera shots where she's just kind of outside, and we're being really positioned to see Alex as the total bitch here, and which again she is. And you probably, you probably have similar character types, not quite Karen's, but like just totally harsh, sort of bitchy sort of women. You see it a lot in, I don't know. I don't think the character types on our reality shows are quite the same as yours. But
it's pretty much the same. They're pretty much all the same. Like whether it's Big Brother or, any of the real world style, the fishbowl type shows.
Yeah.
It's, hey, we're gonna throw a bunch of people in this house. Bachelor, Bachelorette, any of those shows that you
get them drunk and just watch them fight.
Yes.
Like, yeah, and she just totally is that kind of person in all of her attitudes and stuff. And she's the one who brings up that whole conversation around, you're on social media as a mental health advocate, profiting from people's pain, and then it says, you're not qualified. That's very murky. And that's Jamie, I think, says that. And before he takes his hilarious fall off the cliff, it's he actually just quickly, like very, very frequently, drops in these lines of social commentary. He's like, oh, you're not qualified. That's very murky. Like, and it's like this real sort of pertinent statement to everything that's going on. And amongst the bickering and the interpersonal relationships of these characters, you've got these kind of just comments coming from him, which I think is really quite telling as well. But yeah, the other thing I noticed is after the bit there in her when she does her mantra this second time, she doesn't say I'm doing my best, she says I'm trying my best, and it kind of ties in again to she's coming undone, and that she's been triggered and whatnot. So yeah.
Wow, I didn't catch that. That's cool. Does she normally says that she's doing though, right? Instead of trying?
Yeah, I'm just going to check this thing, make sure I am right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm doing my best. This because I'm trying my best. This is where she's in the bath having that moment, and Emma comes in and she's like, "Are you okay?" Which you guys have, "Are you okay?" Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, it's that statement that's really kind of loaded with these connotations of "Are you okay?" mental health wise, and just that line. That's not an accident. That line, "Are you okay?" I find that pretty hard to believe that in a movie is cleverly kind of constructed as this has been so far. That the line "Are you okay?" is put there just by pure accident, even though it's a pretty innocuous statement. It's loaded with connotations, I think. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's one of those things that you put in for the people that are paying attention. Like it either adds that extra layer for you, or else you don't notice and you just move on. You know?
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because then when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so smart. And I think that's what, like, it was that second watch, because I kind of had this idea, there's a lot going on here. The second watch, I'm just sitting here taking notes and just like, yeah, my wife's helping out, pointing out a few things. And she pointed out that whenever something really horrible happens, you get the glitter. Like,
yeah.
So whether it's the stars and this, again, this motif of the glitter and all this kind of stuff that's really kind of fake. And, you know, it's, yeah, even if it's just the light reflecting off broken glass, you know, it's these moments of shining, and yeah, it's pretty interesting to just sort of pull all that stuff out of a movie, and then think someone somewhere along the line has had to put that in. You know, I think that's really good. Anyway,
what did you think of the bathtub death?
Oh, it's great, wasn't it?
Because I like it, but it's also my least favorite overall. Like, there's something so great about how it's almost Tucker and Dale-ish the rest of the time, with everything kind of being accidental. And this one just felt so, I don't know, it didn't feel forced, but it didn't feel like it was on the same level as poor Jamie falling off the cliff or things like that. And so I'm still torn on it. I like it, but I also feel like it doesn't totally fit. I don't know.
See, I don't know. I don't think many of these deaths are accidental. I mean, like, she fucking brains Alex, right? Like, and although we find out later on, Alex, you know, in classic slasher fashion, is not defeated. She's coming back for more. And at this moment,
which I love,
yeah, right. And when she comes in there, she's all fucked up. It's like Terminator coming in. It's brilliant. But and the phone call to the cop. What does he say? It's It's so funny. I've got it open here. Hang on. Netball team. That'll find it. Oh, yeah. So the phone rings. Is that you, Gaz? I told you to stop calling here when you fucked off your head. Yeah, boo-hoo. And she's like just been beaten near to death with a rock, and she's like screaming into this phone to get help. He said, mate, I'm not kidding. I'm this close to kicking you off the netball team. It's like... I forgot about that. It's so hilarious. And this poor girl, she's just, dying in the woods. And then he's like, what the fuck are you doing out in the sticks? And even when he comes in later on, that cop, he's hilarious, man. Like, even after he's had to shoot people. But it's hilarious. And then you've got this moment where that all finishes. She's like, now would be a great time to meditate. Like, it's just funny. It's so funny. But yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Like, but so there's that one. There's the bath one. The final scene probably counts a little bit differently because yeah, I don't know if they were accidental or not. Like, I don't, pretty hard to say.
Well, she gets Alex to kill Emma because she mistakes her because of the hair color. Because Alex mistakes Emma for Sissy because of the hair color. And I'm like, oh my God, that when she just keeps beating her, to death, or keeps beating her. And when Sissy says, thank you, I'm like, oh, that was a fucking great line, great delivery, and great bow on the end, because there's Alex just standing there, realizing what she had done. And then, the constable rolls in, boom, shoots her in the head. Bullet comes to the front of her head. She picks it out like, oh. And at that moment, I'm like, holy shit. She may not have planned all this stuff out to unfold the way it did, but it was a brilliant way to tell this story of revenge, or full circle revenge coming out, and being able to capitalize off of that.
Yeah, right. Which she totally does with a new book and all that kind of stuff as well. Which,
yes,
yeah, and all of that stuff, which is, it's kind of what they're saying. Like, who are these people? And all this death that, you know, she's caused. And we've totally skipped over the foreshadowing of the kangaroo and Fran's death.
Oh, yes.
Which is so trauma, that head squash. Like, that was the moment in the cinema.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm just like thinking, nah, they won't show this. Hope they do. But then, whoa, like the eye popping out, the skull just collapsing. Like, yeah, I'd love to know what they used to do that, because I think it was a practical effect. It looked practical. If it was CGI, it was very good. But
I like the way how everything slows down so that you can see it and then goes back to normal speed.
Yeah, right. Not only did they show it, but they like, this is a key moment in this film. Like, yeah, and that wasn't accidental either.
No.
You've got the slamming on the brakes, you know, sending it through the windscreen. Yeah, and how she goes and says to her, "Oh, just got to finish it off."
It's the humane thing to do.
Yeah, that's right. It's cold-blooded as. And yeah, good moment. I enjoyed it very much. But yeah, that's another thing. Well, that's what's so probably really made me fall in love with this film so much, is that most of the time it's kind of this almost humorous, light-hearted kind of thing. But then when it does the gore, it's almost trauma levels of gore. And the thing, like you said, like the moment where she's beating Emma to death with the poke. Is it the fire poker she's using?
I think so. Or it was either that or it was Jamie's crutch. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a crutch. Yeah, it was a crutch. Which even himself, using Jamie's crutch to do it is humorous. But like, it's just showing you just this face just being obliterated. And I don't think you actually see that too much. Like, if you talk about Knock at the Cabin, I hope we get an unrated release of some of the violence in that, because there's very little actually on-screen violence you see. And I guess maybe because it's M. Night Shyamalan movie as well. But, actually getting this kind of violence in a movie, in a horror movie, I think that people who love horror are just like, yeah, good, that's what we wanted. So, yeah, but no.
Well, and the real horror scene for me is when Emma's alive, but realizing she needs to get the hell out of there. And they do such a good job by... It's not that the tone isn't horror for most of it, but they really ramp up the tone in that scene. And just watching her panic and then reach under the bed and, find a surprise and freak out more. And I mean, everything about that scene is so good, and it's straight horror, and it's beautiful how, Don always talks about how characters don't know the genre that they're in. And she definitely figures out the genre that she's in. Yeah. And I just fucking love that scene. I thought that scene was just so powerful and so good. And, we talked about Bodies a little bit. And again, I love that movie. I'm not shitting on it, but it never has that. Like, even the scariest scenes, you're still having a great time and it's fun. And that's great. I love that kind of stuff. But you don't go up to this level of true horror in that.
No, and I think that where she's got Emma in the chair as well. I don't know. Have you guys seen the movie The Loved Ones?
Yeah. I have not.
It's another Aussie one. It's made by the guy who he made. I forget the name of that. I'm so crap with names of movies, but he made a really well-known horror one. Sean Byrne. He made, what's the one I'm thinking of? Devil's Candy. He made The Loved Ones, and The Loved One is this really great thing where this girl invites the guy over from school for the formal, and her and the dad are like really messed up, and they've got him in this chair, and they're doing Jeffrey Dahmer shit to him, like drilling holes in his head, and really brutal kind of stuff like that. But the whole chair, the whole vibe of that, just really kind of, I think it was really referencing The Loved Ones and saying here's another great Australian horror movie. We just wanted a little nod in the head to it, and tip of the cap kind of thing. But maybe that's just me. But I think, I don't know, I can't think. we do that as we watch. We go, a little hat tip there, But even that whole talking about that regression. She's got, she's painted Emma's hair pink, and she's when she sees the necklace that she's stolen off Alex, the BFF necklace, the two sides of the heart, and that's when we're like, oh, okay, this is not okay. I just think it was so.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill somebody, don't wear their jewelry right away. Don't go live on your streaming, because that will leave a video. And if you don't know why that's bad, check out the Alex Murdaugh killings. And you're just straight telling everybody where you were and leaving evidence everywhere. Don't do that shit.
Yeah,
this show does not condone murder.
Unless you can tie it all up at the end and find a patsy like Alex.
Okay, but she didn't know she was going to have that, so she was fucking up. Is my point. She just lucked out.
Yeah.
Look, was it really luck, or was it just the cards aligning themselves?
I just want to know why you haven't given me a BFF's necklace that we could both wear yet. What's up with that, dude?
Well, I mean, you and I have seen enough of the same movies to where you should know that I'm not going to do that.
Was that Bros?
Wow. I think we could go with a better romantic comedy than that one.
Twilight?
All right.
This is why I'm not allowed on the show anymore. This is my last episode. I don't even have to quit anymore. I'm just being kicked off now.
But yeah, so I guess we're sort of at the end of it. Everyone's sort of all coming in. You've got Emma in the chair, and then Alex, who is full Terminator mode, making her way back in on Jamie's crutch. She's got that gammy eye and all that stuff, and just the brutality of that kill is just full on, eh? And then the cop comes in, who's hilarious again. He's like blows her away. And he's there. Then I can't remember what he's saying, but he's saying some funny shit. And as well, he's like, "Oh fuck me,"
Like, I'll go check the rest of the house. Like, what?
Yeah.
We didn't even check to make sure she was okay first. It's kind of like no vitals were being checked on the person he had just shot. He's not calling it in. It's like, let me go check the rest of the house.
I was live messaging Zachary, and I was like, in America, he would have shot the black one too. So,
he would have actually probably shot her first. Like, why are you down there allowing this woman to stand above you with a cane? Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay, ma'am? But then again, Sissy wouldn't have gotten away with it.
Yeah, and I think that's where, when you come back to what is this movie saying? The social commentary of horror. It is what I wrote down. She wrote down at the time is the whole moral of this is she gets away with it all through manipulation and lies. She creates this narrative that's the opposite of the truth, and she doesn't even have to leave her safe space. She turns Alex, who is probably the real victim, even though we're positioned to see it differently, into the bad guy. And then it re-raises that question about who are our social media influencers. Even though we still feel sorry for Sissy at the end, I think I'd watch this a third time, really rooting for Sissy as if it was like a revenge movie kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it is a revenge movie, it's the pettiest revenge movie ever. You know what I mean? Yeah, and yeah, she's literally just carved her way through this diverse group of characters, and she's like, and that's how you can buy my book about being a survivor. And all I could think about was you guys when I was, faced with this horrible murder of Alexandra Kutas, and it just name drops the enemy right as the villain of the piece, which is just so good, because you could just totally, you can see this stuff happening on social media all the time. Is people trying to position each other as villains and retelling the story and all this kind of stuff. And
I thought that was such a great touch. Yeah. The name dropping specifically.
Yeah, and I think it's really pertinent. I think, again, I talk about the Andrew Tate one a lot because working in schools with teenagers, and I see Don talking about this as well with what's his name? The Canadian bloke who's a total just admit you hate women. Peterson, just admit you hate women, mate. We can all move on then. But with Andrew Tate as an example, I've got teenage boys who they were like, "Oh, what do you think of Andrew Tate?" I'm like, "I think he's a criminal, and we're going to end the conversation."
Right.
And because they'll just sidetrack a lesson with it, and talk to me at lunchtime. We'll talk about it. This is a man who's admitted he's done these things, and no, it's all fake. And these people just are positioning themselves as people of power, as victims, and people are buying into it, and it's kind of scary how easily people will believe into it. And I think that when we see Sissy at the end doing that exact thing, even though we kind of feel sorry for her, it kind of gets us to see a little bit about what perhaps people who are is gaslit the real term for Andrew Tate? I don't know, manipulated, I think feels better for me, into thinking that this is a man who is just really appealing to their own insecurities as young teenage boys, and how, if they want to be strong men and alpha males or whatever the hell crap he's telling them, they've got to be like him. And
Right.
they're buying into it. They're totally believing it. And you see the same thing at the end of this movie. Like, how many people who are just buying into Sissy or Cecilia, sincerely Cecilia, oh wow, she really was this victim, and she's so brave, and she survived, and we should really buy her book and help her profit from what's happened.
Yeah, and like the two of you already pointed out, the whole idea that Alex's name is given to the murders, the massacre, right? So she being Sissy is going to be perpetually linked to this person, saying that I'm not a victim of her anymore. I'm a survivor. This person committed all these horrible things. I, by default, am the good person, because there is no one to counter that narrative. There's no one that survived that can counter that narrative. I don't know if there was even video, security footage from that home. So there's nothing that can be drawn out that would state anything other than Alex was the bad person. She did bad things. I survived, and as a result of me surviving, I win. I have a better life. I have this street cred to basically serve as your mentor, your spiritual guide, your life coach, whatever it is, because I went through something really horrific. And if I could survive that, then you know what? You can survive your day-to-day 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. I just think there's something really great in there. And again, like I said, I really enjoy bodies as well. And but I don't think it asks those questions like this does. I think
no.
And I think there are a few movies that are doing really great things with this. I think Barbarian was really cool. With what do you call it? Airbnb kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, there's different sort of fields of social media that we can use because it's so prevalent in our lives. We can generate horror from them. But I think this one actually asks some pretty pertinent questions, whereas I think social media is a little bit more. Is the word parodic with the adjective for parody? But yeah, I think it's more like, look at the hysteria of these people, that they're all just sort of acting around things, whereas here it's saying, well, who are these people who we are following? What are we doing about it? We just let these people have their say, and there's no checks and balances on it. And I think particularly for it's not even young people, just people without the critical reading abilities to actually ask questions, of who they are. Like, because often, someone will send something through to you and you'll be like, oh, who says this? Okay, I'll Google their name. Oh, yeah, they're not even a doctor. Like, don't worry about it.
Right.
Whereas sometimes you go, okay, so maybe this person does have something that's worth looking at. But if you don't have those skills, and you see this a lot with all the conspiracy information, people just spouting shit, and what are their credentials? And often they don't have any. They're just people with loud mouths and the ability to put it online.
Exactly.
And
and if you question what they were saying, like, you're part of the problem too, or as Andrew Tate would put it, you're part of the Matrix.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, you're.
The funniest thing about that is what I can tell you after working in high schools for 10 years is I try to reference the Matrix all the time to kids. They haven't seen it. They're like, you guys have seen the Matrix, right? And they're like, no. Like, like, so don't tell me I'm part of the Matrix if you haven't even seen the movie. Like, if you haven't had to sit through the incredibly boring 2 sequels, like, then no. Like, like I saw those at the cinema. I paid to see that shit. You don't get to tell me I'm part of it when when you haven't even seen it. If you've sat through it, then I'll listen to you, and I'll still dismiss you. But yeah. God, what a movie. So he's a film with these kids who haven't even seen that movie. They just go, "Yeah, you're part of the Matrix." So what is the Matrix?
I think it's. I really wonder how much like streaming and stuff has changed, and just the amount of channels and internet and everything else that our kids have now. Like when movies came out when we were kids, we didn't have anything else to do. Like going to the movie was like the cool thing. So we saw all these giant blockbusters, and they became like parts of our lives because we would talk about them all the time with our friends, and we would act them out or whatever else. And I kind of wonder, like, will the next generations not have that? Like maybe something like Stranger Things where everybody's seeing it, but overall, like, did we lose that? Will future generations not sit there 40 years later going, what do you mean you haven't seen bodies? You know, like,
what do you mean you haven't seen Jaws?
Yeah, it's really odd. Hey, like, I know they got hold of Barbarian, at least at the school I was at last year, okay, we've got some work to do. What are you doing? I'm watching a movie. What? Okay, first of all, how do you have access to that on the school network? Oh, I'm hotspotting. Okay, so this is the second problem. You know, like, essentials classes are fun, man. You like when you've got two grades, you have grade 10 general, grade 10 essential. It's hilarious the dichotomy between these kids. So you got the kids who are like, yes, we're going to go to university and we're going to study our butts off. And you've got the, I'm just watching a movie, sir. Just hang on, just let this scene finish and then I'll do work. And you're like, turn it off. Like, they're just like, hang on.
Like, what movie is it? Let me see this.
Yeah. And it's quite funny because, you know, they're watching Barbarian on some pirate link site in the middle of class. Right. And you're just like, all right, close your laptop. You're working on paper this lesson. They got hold. I know they got hold of Barbarian. That was doing the rounds. But I don't know. Like, and it's I haven't gone to see Avatar this time it's out. You know what I mean? Which I don't even feel like I need to. And whereas,
well, I was going to say, I don't think you're alone in this conversation because I know I haven't seen it, and
I've never seen any of them.
I've seen the first one, and I saw it at the cinema when it was you had to go and see it at the cinema. But now I'm just like, oh God, how long is it? Is that like 3-4 hours? Nah, not doing it. You know, like just to watch some.
That's me with everything now. Yeah.
So when we go to choose a movie, where the streaming, is it Tubi, Shudder, Prime? We have Stan here in Australia, Netflix, whichever one we're going to put on. Or are we going to find some old obscure movie on YouTube? How long is it? It's an hour 45.
You start doing the math. Like,
yeah,
I want to go to bed by 8:30. What time is it now? 7. No, we'll watch it tomorrow.
That's every conversation about movies in my house right there.
Yeah, it's so is though, right? Whereas, it's just getting old, I think. I don't know. Yeah, but anyway,
even like that now because I've read so many novellas that now, like, I was asked to blurb a book which was really, really good, but it was 128,000 words or something like that. Mm-hmm. And like I was reading, and then I'm like, I'm how far? And like, nothing against the book. It was fucking fantastic. Great book. And I'm not even mentioning who it was here because I do love the book and I don't want people to think that I did not. But it was just amazing to me to find out that because I've read so many novellas now, that now a normal size novel feels the same way to me as a 3-hour film.
Right.
It's just so odd.
Yeah.
My kid has gotten the same way where it's, she will literally ask how long the movie is. And then then if it's something like, I'm like, oh shit, how can I convince her to watch this movie? Right. And because we have a requirement every day. I'm like, well, every day you need to read roughly 30 minutes. It could be it could be a graphic novel, it could be a chapter book, whatever. I just want you to read for 30 minutes. I try to do the same thing, blah, blah, blah. But, if you don't do it, it's not the end of the world. And whether it was reading a book or just reading in general, or it was watching a movie or something with me, it was how much is it's 2 hours? That movie's 2 hours, Dad? I'm like, okay, just imagine it's 4 episodes of Bluey. Now, mind you, I love Bluey more than she does, but she got me into Bluey. So I'm like, just imagine it's 4 episodes of Bluey. She's like, oh, okay, all right. And then 30 minutes into it, she's like, how much is left? I'm like, an hour and a half, like 3 episodes of Bluey. She's like, oh, this movie is so slow. Can I just go to bed? I'm like, son of a bitch, this kid hates this movie. And she's not willing to stick it out. But then, there's some movies like The Wizard of Oz, which is 2 hours, and she doesn't even notice because it just seems to go so well. But yeah, we've had that discussion. I've gotten to the same point where I'm like, good God, this really, I can't do a 2-hour movie tonight. I can't. I'm not doing anything tomorrow. I just can't. I can't do a 2-hour movie tonight.
Yeah, how can I sit here for 2 hours and just, ugh. Yeah, no, it's one of those things. I think, and that's, I don't know. I guess that's what social media's done to us as well, isn't it? Everything's real fast. You couldn't see what I was doing there. I don't know why I made a sound effect and waved my hands around.
Look, I imagined it.
Well,
awesome.
were you dealing cards?
Yeah. I was dealing cards. No, I was like, well,
Okay.
we're just swiping through videos. Like, I'll give this 15 seconds, and we even put on movies and we go, we'll give it 5 minutes.
Right.
If it doesn't grab us after 5 minutes, we'll change it. And we've literally spent longer scrolling through the movies list to see what we want to watch, because it's that old adage of, it was 150 channels and nothing but shit on. But and it's the same with all the streaming channels.
Absolutely.
Like, it hasn't changed. It's still, still a million opportunities of just watching something that you don't really feel like, but you just feel like you should, maybe.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. So to get back to the question, I don't know. Will kids have those blockbuster movies? Maybe. I think Netflix controls a lot. I think Netflix is really big with them, especially here. I don't know about overseas. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We've just got so many now, so many streaming services now in the US where it's kind of like we're almost harkening back to the days where it was just cable.
Yeah.
Just give us one thing. Give us one thing. We know we said we wanted everything, but now we just want one thing.
Yeah,
because
we brought it on ourselves.
Yeah,
this is horrible now.
I think it's the Marvel movies for them, really, is the blockbuster movies. Hey, like,
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's true.
And I think that's pretty much it. Like, and man, like, I say this to my wife because we're just like, oh, another Marvel movie, And like, as a kid, like, I remember being excited for Blade coming out because I had like Night Stalkers comics in grade 10, and people were like, "You're a weirdo," and like from them being bankrupt to have, getting lucky with Blade making them some money, and then selling X-Men to, was it Fox at the time? Like, to now every month there's a new Marvel movie you've just got to see, and it's almost like as prevalent as comics. And we used to make that comment about, like, what if it was just like, imagine if every comic would be a movie, one day this will happen. And now it's happened. Like, I can't even be asked with half the new Marvel movies. Like, just like, man, I've missed like 3 now. I don't know what's going on. So.
You're not missing.
I quit ages ago, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, what was the last? We watched one recently. It was so long. I don't know.
The last one, Ant-Man, it was like, Jonathan Majors, great. The rest of the movie, you're kind of like, can you bring Jonathan Majors back, please? I want to look at him again. I want to hear his voice. I want to see this great acting that he can present to us. Then it's like, all right, let's talk about holes and how many holes people have versus this random alien, which was actually something that came up in the movie, was debating how many holes human beings and other aliens have, and whether or not they lined
I
up.
feel like you're setting Thomas Springard up for a joke, and he's not here today.
I was.
But go ahead and buy his sticker. Why do humans and alien genitalia always line up? It's on our T Public page, and all proceeds go to the Trans Lifeline.
Nice.
As they should.
Anyway, yeah, all of our merch goes there. Mostly because I'm not good at making money at anything, so it's way easier to feel like, oh, you bought stuff? Okay, I'm going to give the money to the Trans Lifeline. Thank you. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It's awesome. I love it, honestly. I'm kind of making fun of it, but it really is cool that we're able to do that and that people buy our shit to begin with.
Absolutely.
But so we've been talking about Netflix and streaming and all this other stuff, and I assume we're all kind of done with the film. So what movie do you think people should watch if they liked this, Zachary?
I think, look, we mentioned Bodies as an obvious counterpoint. I think Barbarian is also a good choice to because it sort of revolves around social media or at least an app. And I don't know, there's a few kind of cool sort of ways. There's one that was like a game when they opened. It was more like a board game. You have you have to kill someone within 15 minutes or you die or whatever. I can't remember. I think it's another Shudder movie. Is it called The Game or something? I don't know. I can't really recommend it. I can't remember the name of it, can I?
I know what you're talking, because there was one. It was oh my gosh, not Would You Rather, but there was that might be
Game
the one where they all sat together.
It?
No, I think that's a Charles Bronson movie. Wait, no, that's God, Bruce Lee. I was thinking of Death Wish.
No, yeah, it is. There's a 2017 one on Shudder called Game of Death, and I guess that's interesting as well to watch because I think the vibe's pretty similar in that it's young adults as opposed to teenagers or adults, I guess. There's a quote for you. But that's an interesting one to watch as well. But I think Barbarian, Bodies, and maybe even that one. I think they were all dealing with similar kind of themes.
So I said at the beginning my double feature would be Bodies, but I'm going to switch it up just because, and I'm going to go with Deadstream. Deadstream is about live streaming and followers, and the best part is all the comments during the movie. They're like right on the screen so you can read them, and they say hilarious things like wedgie board, and I just find a wedgie board hilarious. So I'm gonna go with Deadstream. So Don, what are your 888 movies today?
876, but so
damn it, so close.
So you're going to start to notice some themes and some continuity or carryover. Similarities between these films. So I'm going to start off with Gone Girl, which is still to this day for me one of the scariest movies involving a relationship. Not necessarily for gore or anything like that. Just the way in which somebody the lengths that somebody will go to for somebody else or to just completely fuck over their lives. Single white female, the Black Mirror episode Nosedive, where it's talking about how social media itself becomes that vehicle, or at least that cage for somebody. Unfriended, Friend Request. I mentioned Tucker and Dale a few times. I think I had The Crash, Mean Girls. I'm surprised James did not pick Mean Girls. Carrie, High Tension, which I know
my second favorite movie of all time.
Yes, I know he wouldn't pick High Tension, so I figured I would throw that one in there. Ma, which deals with another situation of being bullied and trying to find some sort of retribution. Invisible Man, Black Christmas, Mandy, Cape Fear, I Spit on Your Grave, Identity, Freaks, and Fatal Attraction. So
nice.
That's my list.
Cool. You had some on there I did not even think of. So
that's why I have the list. This is the list of Don.
I know.
Not like the list of Jericho.
That's why I don't try. We would just end up saying 30 of the same things.
So. Let me click my pen.
I think the other thing you probably add, I think, seeing as this is an Australian horror movie film, a couple of those good Aussie horror, not necessarily Wolf Creek, which I love, which I just find hilarious. especially the second one, because it's pretty objectively terrible, but it's a lot of fun. But the Storm Warning is a really good one to watch, with that kind of really quite brutal Australian horror, and The Loved Ones as well. I think someone recommended that to me, and yeah, and I watched that, and that movie was really good, real toe curler as well. I mentioned that earlier, so give that a shout as well. Good Aussie horror, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I suppose that brings it back to you, man. So you can tell everybody, is the book open for pre-sale yet or not?
So we're looking at a cover release in the next few days. I'm really, really, really thrilled with the cover. I don't know if I sent it. I'll send it 3D if I haven't. We actually got a guy to sketch it, which I think is pretty pertinent with all the AI stuff going on at the moment. He'd done some metal artwork for some really cool bands I liked, and I hit him up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm down for it." So it's especially like now it's this really metal themed book, and we've got a cover by a proper metal artist who's done a sketch which I think ties in the themes really well. And we'll release that soon, but it should be out in July. What I am going to have, though, as I mentioned when we were just chatting before, we'll be at the Guillory Festival in next month. Is it April?
Yeah, April.
And I'm hoping we have a few there, which would be really cool. So there's that, and then there's also the Morass. I don't have a release date on that yet, but that'll come out soon. And that's as I said, that's a much more exploitation kind of novella, which I do love that stuff, as I think is pretty obvious after this chat. And that's it, basically, just getting back to writing and doing all the things we do. So that's me, and you can find me on social media, Twitter. And you know what? Like everyone else, I signed up for 1 million when Elon Musk bought Twitter, and I don't know where they are.
And you can't find us on any of those.
Yeah, so that's it. So I guess it's still just, training Elon's evil AI bots for the future to be plugged into monkeys' brains and help murder them, I guess. But yeah, that's me.
Well, that was one of the most interesting answers we've ever had to that, because, the monkey part, but no.
Yeah, you can know about that, though, right? How many monkeys he's killed.
I do not know about that
Google
part. I do know that he's definitely training his AI future shit off of our tweets, but...
Yeah, so they're going to be racist and divisive.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's like... He's been plugging in his brain chips into the monkeys' heads, the chimpanzees' heads.
Holy shit! He's killed 1,500 animals through the Neuralink. Oh my god! All right,
that's just today. That'll be outdated by the time this episode airs.
Oh my god! Well, this is as of the beginning of February. It's hundreds of monkeys and sheep trying to use Neuralink, but I'm sure he'll use his
So then, did he actually kill Kyle Rittenhouse, or just using his body, or is that a conversation for another day? I'm sorry.
Look, this already sounds like a good pitch for a horror movie at this point.
Haven't you seen Shaqma?
It's not so artificial reality. It's really fucking happening. Anyway, all right, we will wrap this up. So, as always, I am James Sabata.
And I'm Don Guillory.
And we will see you back here at thenecronama.com.